Cinderella story. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl called Bella. Her father remarried after her mother passed away when she was young. Bella lived with her stepmother, father, and one stepsister. Bella has a talent for making beautiful clothes and accessories. The stepmother and stepsister are jealous of her beauty and skills. They were mean to her and did not treat her well. Every day, Bella had to do all the household chores. She had to prepare food, wash the clothes, and clean the floor. The only thing Bella was happy about was making pretty clothes in her room at night from old clothes her stepsister threw away. Bella keeps her hobby a secret so she will not get into trouble. Shortly after, her father fell ill and passed away. The stepmother and stepsister became even more awful. They made her do more chores every day till late. One night, her stepsister felt hungry past midnight. She called out to Bella to make her some food. By then, Bella was already in her room making some dresses. She was so engrossed that she did not hear her stepsister calling her. When her stepsister could not get her, she got angry and opened her room door. She saw Bella making dresses secretly. In her anger, she screamed and took a pair of scissors to destroy the dress. Her stepsister then opened her wardrobe and found more dresses. She took them out and cut them as much as she could, and threw them to the floor while trampling to dirty them. As soon as she heard the commotion, the stepmother rushed in to see what had happened. When the stepmother saw the dresses, she demanded,
"Burn those dresses! You have no use for them and will never get to wear pretty clothes."
They grabbed all the dresses Bella made and threw them all into the furnace.
No!
Bella's tears flowed as she tried to save the dresses from getting burned without success. Her face was smeared with black ashes from the furnace as she rubbed tears from her eyes.
"Clean up this mess! Cinderella, I don't want to see them in the morning!"
Her stepmother grinned.
"With those ashes on your face, this name suits you more."
From then on, they called her Cinderella. One day, there was an invitation to a royal ball event at the palace. Everyone was invited. Cinderella had to help prepare the dresses, makeup and hair for her sister and stepmother. She started to prepare for herself when she had completed all her work. Her stepsister noticed and said,
You cannot go. Those dresses you have are unfit to be present at the ball.
But I have one which my mother left me,
replied Cinderella. She picked up the only dress from the box her mother gave her. The mean sister snatched the dress away and cut it immediately in front of her.
Oh no, you have no dress. You cannot go to the ball.
The stepsister giggled. Cinderella was devastated. She wept as she watched her stepmother and sister leave for the ball.
My girl, do you want to go to the ball?
A voice said. Cinderella turned and saw her neighbor, a very lovely old granny.
I'm an old lady, and I have difficulty walking. You can have my invitation card if you wish,
said old granny.
but I have no clothes or means to go to the palace,
replied Cinderella. Granny smiled.
Grandpa has horses. He will bring you there. I knew you have the talent to make dresses. Come to my house. I have a lot of clothes for you. If you don't mind, they may be a bit old. You better hurry.
Cinderella smiled as she saw hope. She quickly picked herself up and went over to Granny's house. She mixed and matched the clothes and performed her magic in making clothes. After she had completed her dress, she noticed she did not have any shoes to go with her dress. Granny smiled.
I have the perfect shoes for you. I nearly forgot about them but managed to find them while you were making the dress.
She handed over 2 shiny glass slippers for Cinderella. As Cinderella was about to leave, Granny said to her,
You must not forget to come home before your stepmother and sister. It is best to be home before midnight so you don't get into trouble with your stepmother.
I promise,
said Cinderella, and she left for the palace. Cinderella was late when she reached the ball. When she stepped into the ballroom, she stood out from the crowd with her pretty dress and how beautiful she was. Everyone looked at her with awe. The prince immediately stepped forward to ask for a dance with Cinderella. He danced with only Cinderella and no one else. Nobody knew who the girl was and where she came from. From afar, the stepmother and sister could not recognize Cinderella. Moreover, after destroying her dress, they did not expect her to turn up for the ball. Everyone at the ball was envious of Cinderella. Cinderella had never been so happy that she had forgotten the time. The ball is nearly over when the clock strikes midnight.
Oh no.
I need to go back before anyone finds out,
Cinderella told herself. In a hurry, Cinderella accidentally dropped her glass shoes. The prince chased after her but only found her shoe. He told his servant,
I must find the owner of the shoe and marry her.
Soon, royal notices were put up to find the shoe's missing owner. The servants went from house to house to find the shoe owner. Finally, the servant arrived at Cinderella's house.
Give me that shoes. I'm the owner, and I will marry the prince,
claimed the stepsister.
Not only must the shoes fit, but you must also wear your dresses to show our prince,
said the servant. The stepsister tried nonetheless. However, her feet were a bit too big for the glass shoes.
Anyone else in this house who wants to try the shoes?
The servant asked. Cinderella, who had been watching, asked.
May I try?
No, she did not attend the ball, and she is just a maid,
exclaimed the stepmother. The servant replied.
Every girl in the kingdom must try.
Cinderella tried on the shoe, and it fit her perfectly. She took out the other shoes from her pocket and showed the servant.
Please wait for me,
said Cinderella as she went to her room to change into the outfit she wore to the ball. The stepmother and sister were both stunned beyond words when they saw Cinderella.
Let's return to the palace immediately,
said the servant.
Before I go, I need to thank my fairy, who helped me,
said Cinderella.
Fairy?
Everyone in the room looked at each other, puzzled. Cinderella went to her neighbor and said,
Granny, I cannot thank you enough. Are you willing to let me be your goddaughter, and I promise to take care of you?
Granny smiled.
I will always be your godmother.
Cinderella married the prince soon after and lived happily ever after. Her story was retold in many versions, and soon many people mistake her granny for a fairy godmother. The Little Mermaid.
In the depth of the Caribbean Ocean stood a magnificent palace adorned with shells and pearls. There lived the kingdom of the mermaids. Mata, the Sea King's youngest daughter, is curious and playful. She loves racing with the sharks, riding on the turtle, and diving with the dolphins in her free time. She particularly enjoys investigating sunken ships and hunting for treasures. While exploring the different parts of the ocean, she will sing along. Her beautiful voice calms the sea waves, while the fishes are drawn to her presence to keep her company. Mata has always been curious about the world outside the sea. Whenever she feels bored, she will sneak up to the ocean's surface to look at the beautiful island and activities surrounding them and secretly imagine herself walking on the sandy beach. One day, Mata was near the sea surface when she heard a group of rowdy sailors on a ship. Mata decided to check out what had happened. As Mata approached the ship, she noticed a sailor laughing with a handsome young man. While watching them, Mata saw the attractive young man wearing what appeared to be a crown on his head.
He must be a prince.
Mata thought to herself. After some time, the wind grew stronger. The vast wind rocked the ship vigorously. The young man felt queasy and sick from the erratic rocking of the vessel, and he went to the ship's deck for a breather. Suddenly, the ship made a sharp movement. The young man lost his footing and fell right into the ocean.
The prince fell into the ocean! Somebody save him!
One of the seamen cried. Unfortunately, the sky was overcast, and the sea was choppy. Nobody knew where the prince was. Mata quickly dives into the sea to search for the prince. Luckily, she was able to find the prince in a short time and swam as fast as she could to the surface. By then, the prince had already lost consciousness. After much effort, Mata ultimately successfully brought the prince to safety on land. She stared at the prince for some time, hoping that the prince would wake up. Mata was unaware the storm had subsided, and it was already morning. When the prince showed no signs of gaining consciousness, she started to sing from the sadness. Her enchanting voice filled the quiet morning, and slowly, the prince began to move. A group of people heard Mata's singing and followed the melody. As soon as Mata heard noises of people approaching in her direction, she dashed into the waters and hid behind a rock.
Look! Someone is here!
The people spotted the prince and helped him back to safety. Since that day, Mata kept thinking about the handsome prince and going on land. She yearned to find him to see if he had fully healed. Her grandmother noticed that she was not as cheerful as before. Out of concern, she went to check on her.
Child, what is the matter? You can talk to me.
Her grandmother asked.
Grandma, I want to go on land. Please help me fulfill my wishes.
Mata replied. Grandma thought about it and said,
Go to the sea witch.
She can help you. But remember, there is a price to pay for what you wish for.
I am willing to pay the price.
Matta replied. With that, she searched for the sea witch in the darkest of the sea. After some time, she finally arrived at the path leading to the sea witch's cave.
Who has come to disturb my sleep?
The sea witch grunted.
It's me. I'm Matta. I am here to ask for your help.
Matta said. The sea witch grinned.
I see, the Princess of Caribbean Ocean has come to seek my help. How can I help you?
The sea witch chuckled.
I'd like a pair of human legs to walk on land.
Matta continued.
Why would you want to be human?
The sea witch asked curiously.
I wish to look for a prince.
Matta replied.
That is easy. But what do I get in return?
The sea witch asks.
Tell me what you want, and I'll do my best to give it to you.
Matta said. The sea witch pondered for a while.
Give up your voice. On land, you have no use for your voice. Furthermore, if the prince marries you, you will regain your voice. However, if he marries someone else, then you will turn into bubbles and disappear forever.
Matta hesitated.
Who knows, you might marry the prince and have everything you want.
The sea witch added, flashing her wide smile. Matta got excited.
Deal!
She responded.
Very well.
The sea witch replied, as she drew a glass of luminous blue potion from her bag.
Drink this.
She instructed. Matta took the potion bottle and stared for a moment.
Drink right now. I don't have all day.
The sea witch went on. Matta opened the bottle, closed her eyes and drank the potion. Suddenly she felt dizzy and fell to the ground, losing her consciousness. After some time, Matta finally opened her eyes and sat up. She then looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings, trying to figure out where she was.
Sand.
She mumbled as she placed them on her palms and let them slip through the gaps between her fingers. Looking at the falling sand seemed to bring her memory back. She realized what happened in the sea witch's cave. Quickly, she examined her tail and discovered only human legs. She finally got her wishes granted. Matta attempted to stand up, but her legs were shaky. She was still getting used to having legs and was falling a few times as she tried to adjust her walking style.
Do you need help?
Someone asked. When Matta turned towards the voice, she realized it was the prince. Since that day, the prince had been looking for the girl with the beautiful voice. He had been waiting by the shore to see if this mysterious girl would return to sing. Matta wanted to talk to the prince, but no words came. She realized she'd lost her voice as part of the deal with the sea witch. She shook her head.
You cannot speak? It's all right. I will take you to my castle to get some clean clothes.
The prince said kindly. With the help of the prince, she slowly walked to the castle. Matta became a guest in the prince's palace for the next few days. The prince showed her around the castle and shared the stories he had heard with her. They became good friends and had a wonderful time together. One day the king announced to the prince,
Son, it is time for you to have a bride. We have selected one for you. She is Princess Aurora and will be ideal for you. Tonight, we'll discuss wedding plans with her parents.
The prince was devastated when he found out. He had always wanted to marry the woman with the lovely voice, who had saved his life. That night, the princess and her parents arrived. The prince was forced to sit at the table with them.
What a handsome man your son has grown to be. This is my daughter, Aurora. She has prepared a song to sing to your family as a gift.
The princess's father said. The prince was taken aback when Princess Aurora began to sing. The voice sounds exactly like the girl he's been looking for a long time. The prince was delighted because he had finally found the girl, who would become his wife. When the meeting was over, the prince could not contain his happiness and shared it with Madda. Madda was heartbroken. She recalled her agreement with the sea witch. She didn't expect the sea witch to use her voice on another girl. The following day at dawn, Madda took a walk by the shore in despair. She missed her family but could no longer return to the deep sea. Sitting by the beach, her sisters suddenly swam up to the surface as they could sense her. Even though she could not talk, her sisters understood what had happened. They wanted to help Madda.
We will come up with a solution, Madda. Return to the beach tonight.
Her sisters told her. That night, Madda made her way to the shore. Her sisters came as promised. However, they no longer had their long, lustrous lock. To help Madda, they went to the sea witch and had exchanged their glowing hairs for a magical sea pearl.
Madda, take this magical pearl and give it to Princess Aurora. Once she consumes it, she will turn into bubbles and vanish. You will be able to return to your original self and be back with us in the ocean again.
Her sisters told her. Madda took the magical pearl as her sister handed it to her, and left. Deep down, Madda was broken-hearted knowing that her family had done so much for her, yet Madda knew she could not bring herself to hurt another person. The Sea King, who expected Madda to return with her sisters, was enraged when she did not. The sisters had no choice but to tell the king what happened. Upset by his daughter getting hurt, he decided to go to land to check on her. Meanwhile, the wedding was to take place on the ship. When the Sea King came near the sea surface, he saw Princess Aurora and his parents on board the ship. He knew that kind Madda would not hurt her. However, the Sea King had to save his beloved daughter from turning into bubbles. To save Madda, he decided to confront the Sea Witch.
Remove the curse from my youngest daughter!
The Sea King bellowed as he entered the Sea Witch's cave. The Sea Witch cackled and replied,
The only way to save her from her fate is to give me your scepter.
The Sea King knew, if the Sea Witch has his mighty scepter, she can rule the Caribbean kingdom and become the most powerful creature in the world. While the Sea King hesitated, the Sea Witch took the opportunity and used her powers to seize the scepter. She successfully snatched it and laughed loudly while taking off to the wedding ship to announce her victory. As the scepter exudes magical powers, tentacles started twisting out from her body, and she transformed into a massive sea kraken.
and your
she
kingdom!
roared. The gigantic kraken caused an immense sea wave that rocked the ship erratically. Everyone on board the vessel screamed for help. Princess Aurora almost fell to the sea from the rocky ship when Mata quickly extended her hands to save her. This angered the sea witch.
Why does everyone adore you, Mata?
She screamed. In her rage, she grabbed Mata and dragged her off the ship with her tentacles. The sea witch drew Mata close to her face, her mouth wide open while roaring at her. Mata was terrified, but she took a chance and threw the magical pearl into the mouth of the sea witch instead.
No!
The sea witch screamed. Slowly, the tentacles transformed into bubbles. Gradually, the body of the kraken, and finally the sea witch herself became bubbles and vanished. Mata was now free. The sea, however, was still extremely choppy. Mata wanted to calm the ocean without thinking much about her lost voice. She opened her mouth to sing and realized her lovely voice returned, much to her surprise.
No. I paid for the voice.
Princess Aurora croaked and stomped off. Mata's voice captivated the prince, and he remembered the exact song he heard when the girls saved him. He understood what had happened. Just then, the Sea King returned with his scepter. With a wave of his scepter, the storm was over, and everything calmed down. The prince approached Mata and said,
I have been searching for you, but all these while you were beside me. Will you marry me?
The prince kneeled and asked Mata. With a big smile, Mata nodded. The wedding continued on the ship, in the presence of the Sea King and the Mermaid Kingdom, and they lived happily ever after.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time there was a poor widow who lived in a little cottage with her only son Jack. Jack was a giddy, thoughtless boy, but very kind-hearted and affectionate. There had been a hard winter, and after it the poor woman had suffered from fever and ague. Jack did no work as yet, and by degrees they grew dreadfully poor. The widow saw that there was no means of keeping Jack and herself from starvation but by selling her cow, so one morning she said to her son,
I am too weak to go myself, Jack, so you must take the cow to market for me, and sell her.
Jack liked going to market to sell the cow very much, but as he was on the way, he met a butcher who had some beautiful beans in his hand. Jack stopped to look at them, and the butcher told the boy that they were of great value, and persuaded him to sell the cow for them. And Jack was so silly as to consent to this foolish bargain. When he brought them home to his mother instead of the money she expected for her nice cow, she was very vexed and shed many tears, scolding Jack for his folly. He was very sorry, but, he said, he might as well make the best of his bargain, so he put the seed beans into the ground close by the side of the steep hill under shelter of which their cottage was built, and went to bed. The next morning when he got up, he found that the beans had grown, till the beanstalks reached right over the top of the hill, and were lost to his sight. Greatly surprised, he called his mother, and they both gazed in silent wonder at the beanstalk, which was not only of great height, but was thick enough to bear Jack's weight.
I wonder where it goes. I think I will climb up and see,
said Jack to his mother. His mother wished him not to venture up this strange ladder, but Jack coaxed her to give her consent to the attempt, for he was certain there must be something wonderful in the beanstalk. Jack instantly began to climb, and went up and up on the ladder like bean till everything he had left behind him, the cottage, the village, and even the tall church tower, looked quite little, and still he did not see the top of the beanstalk. Jack felt a little tired, and thought for a moment that he would go back again, but he was a very persevering boy, and he knew that the way to succeed in anything is not to give up. So after resting for a moment he went on, and at last reached the top of the bean, and found himself in a beautiful country, finely wooded, and not far from the place where he had got off the beanstalk stood a fine and strong castle. Jack wondered very much that he had never heard of or seen this castle before, but when he reflected on the subject, he saw that it was as much separated from the village by the perpendicular rock on which it stood as if it were in another land. While Jack was standing looking at the castle, a very strange-looking woman came out of the wood and advanced towards him. Jack took off his hat to the old lady, and she said, pointing to the castle,
"Boy, that castle belongs to you. A wicked giant killed your father, and took it from your mother. Try and win it back from the monster who now has it."
As she ceased speaking she suddenly disappeared, and of course Jack knew she was a fairy. He was much surprised. However, he walked up to the castle door and knocked, and an old giantess came out. She did not wait till he spoke, but pulled him in at once, for she thought he would make a nice supper for her when her husband was asleep. Just at that moment, however, she heard the giant's step approaching. So she put Jack into a press, and told him to hide there, or the giant would eat him. As soon as the ogre came in, he cried in a terrible voice,
Fee, Effie, Fi, Effo, Fum. I smell the breath of an Englishman.
Oh! There is nobody here. You only smell a crow that is flying over the chimney.
Then the giant sat down to dinner, which was quite ready, and when he had eaten a whole sheep, he said,
Bring me my hen!
The giantess brought a hen, and put it on the table before him, and then she went away.
Lay!
Said the giant to the hen, and she laid a golden egg. Jack could see quite plainly through a little hole which he had bored in the door. 3 times the giant said,
Lay!
And each time the hen laid a solid gold egg. Then the ogre, being drowsy, shut his eyes, and soon snored very loudly. Directly Jack found that the giant was asleep, he stole out of the press, caught up the hen, ran out of the room, opened the door of the castle, which the giant had left ajar, and descended the beanstalk as fast as he could go. His mother was glad to see him again, and much surprised at seeing the hen, which laid them 3 gold eggs every day. Jack's mother took them to the next town and sold them, and soon grew quite rich. Some time afterwards Jack made another journey up the beanstalk to the giant's castle, but first he dyed his hair and disguised himself. The old woman did not know him again, and dragged him in as she had done before to eat him by and by. Once more she heard her husband coming and hid him in the press, not thinking that it was the same boy who had stolen the hen. She put him into the same press, and bade him stay quite still there, or the giant would eat him. Then the giant came in, saying,
Fee, F-A, Fi, F-O, Fum. I smell the breath of an Englishman.
Oh! It is only the cowherd who has just been here. We cannot spare him for your dinner,
said his wife. Then the giant sat down, and when he had eaten half an ox, he told his wife to bring his money bags to him. She instantly went and fetched 2 large bags full of gold, and then left him to go about her usual housework. The ogre counted out the gold twice over, and then put it into the bags and tied them up. In a few minutes Jack heard him snore. He directly crept out of the press, seized the bags, and hurrying out of the castle, carried them home quite safely. Jack's mother was glad to see him safe at home again, and for a long time she would not let him go up the beanstalk. But Jack knew he had not yet obeyed the fairy's command to win back the castle, so after a time he set off once more on this adventure, and tapped again at the castle door. The giantess, who was very stupid, did not know him again, but she stopped a minute before she took him in. She feared another robbery, but Jack's fresh cheeks looked so tempting that she could not resist him, and so she bade him come in. But at that moment she heard her husband's step approaching. Afraid of losing her supper, the ogress at once shut Jack in the press, and she had hardly hidden him when the giant came in, saying as usual,
Fee, F-A, Fi, F-O, Fum. I smell the breath of an Englishman.
Oh no! It is only the shepherd who has been up with the sheep for your dinner.
The giant sat down, and when he had eaten a whole sheep he said,
I should like some music. Bring me my harp.
The ogress went and brought a golden harp to him, set it on the table, and went away. Then the ogre said,
Play!
to the harp, and it played so delightfully that Jack was charmed. By and by, however, the giant snored so loud that he could not hear the music, and Jack quickly stole out, and seizing the harp, ran away with it. But the harp was a fairy belonging to the giant, and as Jack ran, it cried out,
Master! Master!
The giant woke up slowly and rushed after Jack, but the boy was very nimble and outran him. You may imagine how fast Jack went down the beanstalk this time, hearing all the while the tramp of the giant's feet behind him. Just as he reached the bottom he saw the ogre looking down on him. The next moment his great feet were on the beanstalk.
Mother, mother! Bring me the axe!
cried Jack. His mother hastened with it, and just as the giant was halfway down the beanstalk, Jack succeeded in chopping it in halves. The lower half fell, the upper half swung away, and the giant, losing his hold, fell heavily to the ground on his head and broke his neck. The same moment the fairy again stood beside Jack, and touching the broken beanstalk was turned into a flight of broad, easy steps.
Go up, and take possession of your own home, so long kept from you. The ogress is dead, and there is no more danger. You have been brave and good. May you be happy.
Jack thanked the fairy very warmly for her aid, and she again departed to fairyland, after explaining to Jack that she had been the butcher who sold him the beans.